In a particularly difficult job market, when it's hard to find great employees, and when that marketplace is highly competitive, one of the things that I've been talking to my clients about, my coaching clients about, is the additional layer of a tool that is in your toolkit from a human resources, from a hiring perspective and a recruitment perspective that I think can be really helpful to your business. And it's an employer brand. And I want to talk to you about this today because I think it's a helpful extra that you can add to your tactics that aim to make you a more a better opportunity for great employees. And I think a lot of times, especially smaller businesses, give this no credit. They don't spend any time on this. It's really a function of I have a need, I need somebody to fill it. Whereas companies that are adept at this build an employer brand that's actually attractive. So people are lined up to actually come to work at their companies because of the way they've positioned themselves in the market for employees. And so what is an employer brand? What is that in reality? Well, we tend to understand what a marketing brand is, right? A marketing brand is something we go out in the marketplace and build. And it's really a combination of who we say we are, as well as how we actually deliver, the promises we make, the performance we do, the way we create a reputation for ourselves. That's all kind of the essence of a brand. But well, I want you to take that concept and just kind of adapt it and recognize that your company's reputation and popularity from an employee or a potential employee's perspective is actually your employer brand. And so it's not about marketing per se to buyers, it's about marketing to employees or potential and prospective employees. And so as you think about that, as you think about how does your reputation form, well, one of the ways you start with that is you figure out, well, what it is already. And so there's this really great tool in the marketing world. We call it the Net Promoter Score. And the Net Promoter Score is a test. It's essentially a survey that you give to clients to say, on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely it is that you would recommend this company to other people to provide services or products to them. That's the Net Promoter Score. But the Employer Net Promoter Score or Employee Net Promoter Score is on a scale of 0 to 10. How likely is it you would recommend this company as a place to work? And it's a simple test, and the answer is really clear. It's from 0 to 10. And that scale, so depending on how your employees answer that question, gives you a result. The interesting thing about this particular test is these two numbers don't score. The 7 and 8 don't score. And it's kind of an interesting methodology that was developed for the Net Promoter Score, which is 0 to 6 are people who would be considered detractors, employees who would say, this is not a great place to work. 9 to 10s are what are called promoters, net promoters, and they're basically the people who say, yes, this is a great place to work. Anyone who scores a 7 and 8 are basically kicked out of the equation because they're really passive. They're neither a promoter and they're not ultimately a detractor. And so what you're seeking to gain is an understanding of your current, how your current employees look at your business as a way to create a baseline understanding of your brand, of your employer brand. And the tool is the Employee Net Promoter Score. So that's a really helpful place to start because it gives you a baseline in terms of your brand. It gives you a baseline in terms of how your employees think about you. Once you have an understanding of how your employees think about you, it's really helpful to actually build for yourself an employee value proposition. Why should I choose you as my employer versus all the alternative employers available to me? So that's the question that prospective employees are asking when they consider you or the jobs that you're offering in the world. And I think so many of us forget that. So many of us as business owners, business leaders, basically go, I have an opportunity, and our assumption often is, and I think it's erroneously, that people are just waiting for our offer to show up. But unless we begin to think about this question that they're asking, it's a very similar question to marketing. Why should I choose you as my service provider versus all the alternatives available to me? Well, you got to think about that in the same way with your employees. Why would they want to work with you versus the other options available? If you're a kind of sucky place to work, and you don't think about how to change that or make a value proposition that makes your place enticing to them, you're going to miss out on the opportunity. Your brand suffers, your employer brand suffers, because you actually haven't thought through this question that prospective employees are asking. So, how do you do that a little bit? Well, how do you think about that? So you got to think about that. You got to understand where you are. And then once you've thought about it, you got to go put it out in the world. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce just recently very clearly declared that there's massive labor shortage. Industries have more unfilled job openings than employed workers with experience in their respective industry. It's basically all over the place. It's in multiple industries. This is the ones they've listed. And so to me, the question then becomes, if there's so much need and you understand that you have to create a brand, I have the question for you. How did your Help Wanted ads position your employer brand? And I'm going to give you an example here. This is one I found in Indeed just a couple of days ago. And I just think this is fascinating, and I want to show it to you because what it indicates to me is that this company, and I'm not gonna document the company. All you know is it's in Rochester, New York. It's just a random choice of where to go. But this is an ad that showed up in Indeed, and I want you to look at it from the perspective of an employee or a prospective employee who's looking for a job. And to me, what this immediately says is, I don't care about you as an employee. I don't care what you think about this. I just happen to have this need. Look at the top line. This is just so funny to me. An administrative assistant. So to begin with, they got the spelling wrong. And yes, you can make casual. I make them all the time. I understand this. But I think it's indicative of how you're being perceived in the world. See, so when you're sending an email or you're back and forthing with somebody, I know I occasionally make mistakes in these presentations. I get it. But you see me on a regular basis. If you're putting a job ad out for the very first time and you haven't actually had somebody review your Help Wanted ad, you're actually maybe missing something. But it's not just the title. Look at through this job description, and I get it. It's on Indeed. Indeed has sort of a structure that you have to fit within. But look at this. The full job description. The primary responsibilities of this job are to manage the paperwork flow of the business, file and maintain all pertinent documents, and provide business information to customers and staff as requested. I read through this, and frankly, I go, oh, I would hate this job. Now, I probably would hate this job anyways. But the point is, can you imagine from the perspective of somebody who's seeking an administrative assistant job, how this job would immediately go, not interested? Why? Because of the way it's written. There's nothing compelling. Everything seems to be in the negative. Preferred job education, relatively simple. Competencies, again, a weird, like just the way the bullets are. Essential duties, filing, requesting tracking, answering accounts receivable, any errands. It's just this work environment. While performing the duties of this job, employee primarily works indoors. They may be exposed to extreme outdoor conditions. The noise level can occasionally be loud. Job requires occasional climbing, twisting. all of that kind of stuff, all it's maybe true, but what it is it's not compelling. Like, to me, you could have rewritten this as something that is compelling, that actually makes a prospective admin assistant interested in coming to work here. So is your job ad compelling to your preferred applicants? Or, this is a hard question, is it just too much of a hassle to get it written well so it will be compelling? I know that you are likely really busy. And so often you get frustrated by the fact that crappy employees show up. And yet, when I look at ads that are written by your company, what I see is boring, completely non-compelling ads. Why would anybody want to work? Because that's the place that you connect with the world. And so when you think about branding, you think about the way that you present yourself in the world from a marketing perspective. And yet when we try and do that from a marketing perspective, we do all this work. We invest all this effort. And from an employee perspective, we do nothing. It's like, ugh, just vomit this job description on paper, make sure it has no life to it, no energy to it, and hopefully that will make somebody want. Now, I figured, well, why not show you some cool ones? This one's just worth it. This is actually, I found this in a online place, and it was from a Singapore bar. It's called the Dallas Restaurant and Bar, and I don't think I'd be a good fit for this job, but what you'll notice is this job ad is very compelling. Often I'll have one before I go home. I guess if you're an experienced bartender, you can likely decipher the babble. So if you're a bartender looking for the job and you have this kind of ad that says bartender required, or you have this kind of ad, which one do you think you're going to more likely to apply for? This one by a long shot, because there's actually personality to this job description. There's actually a sense of, oh, that's intriguing, that caught my attention, that would be an interesting place to work. Or what about this one? I found this one. This is for they're a manufacturer of mountain bikes, road bikes, and things like that. And again, it's pretty small, but our hiring process, just the way they define this actually makes you go, this is interesting. You find or get sent this job ad, you read the ad, if it piques your interest and makes you want to disprove our claims, you tell us you're interested, you apply, email, shout, call, do whatever. We send you a link to our awesome software and you tell us more about yourself. Already, and then you see this picture of them playing ping pong. Now, not everybody can play ping pong. Not every job does that. But what I'm telling you is this job stands out against the other I showed you. Why? Because they've actually thought about it. They've put some effort into creating something that personifies the brand in the job ad. How about this one? Murder Burger needs more meat. We're in need of some more people to work shifts in Murder Burger. Basically, the job involves turning up, taking money off people, and not pissing anyone off, which, as an aside, is something the people at Vodafone should learn. This is obviously a company, either, I don't know where Vodafone, I think it's in the UK and maybe Australia. I don't know where it is, but, and it's funny. It's like, we need more meat, which I think it's such an innovative way to do ads. And so often I find service companies, smaller companies, they don't do this. They don't think about it. Hire a great copywriter and build an ad that actually is compelling. These are great. Now, let's add one more layer to it. So job copy actually defines your employer brand, but so does your website. So does your website give any indication of why that perfect someone, that optimal candidate to work at your company, should consider working for you? And to me, that means, does your jobs or careers page on your website or your About Us page support your employer brand? Does it actually indicate to somebody who's interested in working for you, does it make them go, this place looks intriguing. This brand is compelling to me. This is a place I'd like to work. So I went digging and I found this ad from a company called Hotjar. And whether Hotjar is a good place to work or not, they've thought about this and they've spent time on this. And to me, right off the top, this is their careers page, but this to me is so cool. Ready for your dream job. Like, just that question is something that everyone who's looking for a job is inwardly asking themselves. They're going, oh, I wish I could find my dream job. I wish I could do that. There's a picture of their team here in somewhat of a compelling environment. Think the dream job is a myth. Look at the connection there. Then they've got a video here. They've got testimonials from employees. Then they've got a whole section on perks, and I can't show it all because this is just in my slide deck. But what I'm telling you is that this company has thought about it. Their careers page actually looks compelling. And when you get down after you've read through their perks, right, and you can actually dig more into the perks, they actually show you their recruitment process. They go through the whole steps. Notice I didn't draw that little red line, they did. And then they have this whole thing down here, Life at Hotjar. They've actually spent some time talking about what it means to work at this company. So what this company has done is beyond what most of us ever do. We put our ads on Indeed or LinkedIn or wherever you're putting them or posting them, Craigslist if you're doing that. But then if people ever get to your website, there's nothing there that supports the employer brand. And what this company is showing us is that it makes sense. And this is just one example. There's lots of them out there. But the example I'm showing you here is a reminder to you to, in tough economic times, your employer brand is not just your ad, it's your About Us page, it's your careers page or job page on your website. All right. The next part of your brand in today's world is what I call being Glassdoor resilient. 53% of job seekers look for company information on websites just like Glassdoor, which has more than 70 million reviews and insights for over 1 million companies. So it's important. You have to become Glassdoor resilient. And that goes back to what have you done to build your internal net promoter score, your employee net promoter score, because it's your employees who leave reviews on places like Glassdoor. And I'm telling you that because if you're not thinking about your brand from the perspective of your job ads, from the perspective of your About Us page, your careers page, and then you're not thinking about it from the perspective of how are my employees rating me, it all matters to your brand. The same way we think about marketing, and we're trying to brand ourselves in the marketplace. Marketplace reviews come in the form of Google reviews, come in the form of Yelp reviews, come in the form of Facebook reviews and related to. So there's lots of places where you can get reviewed, but we don't often think about that with our employees. And so when you're building your employer brand, it's really important to think about those different elements of it. So be Glassdoor resilient as a part of your brand. So bottom line, an employee brand or an employer brand is not what we say it is. It's what our team tells others it is. And that distinction is really important because firstly, we have to do the work to get it there. But the only thing that really matters is what do they say about it? So let's think about a couple of next steps. And these are simple next steps, but hopefully you can take something out of what I've just talked about and add it to some of the things that you're doing. If you're struggling to find employees right now, there might be something a little bit out of whack with your employer brand. So let's look at 6 things you can do. The first one is define it. Recognizing what I just said here, it's not always what we say it is, but it has to start there. You have to start with sort of a vision of what that is. So define it. Define how you want your employees to feel, what this workplace is going to be like. What kind of environment are you going to create? What's the, not just, and we've talked about this on a previous video in terms of the total rewards package. What are all the parts of the reward? Not just how much you pay, but what are the perks and the benefits that come along with being an employee at your company? So define all of that. What's it look like? Make sure you're clear on that. Secondly, then live it in the business. Like actually ensure that it's working. And if you haven't, if you've kind of undervalued your employees and the brand that you create with them internally, first define it and then start living it. Like, make sure it shows up in the business, make some minor adjustments, begin to really do the work required to make sure it's part and parcel of the life of your business. Then take the temperature with the team. And if you've been doing this for a while, it's really helpful to take the temperature, and that's the employee net promoter score. Do a test, just run it simply. Best way to do it is third party. Get someone like me to help you do that. Get a third party HR company to help you with that, but at least run the test. It needs to be run independently. That you can't know who scored it. But take the test, because you need to know what your baseline is, and your job is to get your employee net promoter score up to a place where you're seeing that your culture, your employer brand is alive and well in your business. Next, it's really important to recognize that management matters, whether it's your management or the managers who work with you on your team. It's critical. Managers are the secret sauce in employer brand. Most people quit because of their immediate boss. And so it's really important that you spend a lot of time making sure that your management team understands and lives how to lead your employee brand, how to live out in the fullness of that definition that you've created for yourself, so that it's actually experienced by your team. Then you can start sharing it with the world. And it's not that you can't build a better ad if you haven't done all this, but like, then you can start putting it out in the world with your ads, with your About Us page. But if you don't have anything defined, it's really hard to put something out there. But at least give some thought to, how am I going to share this in the ways that I've already talked to you about? And then finally, you can amplify your attractability. And this is one where you will see companies in your city or in your geographic area do this. And newspapers, business journals, and that have these really cool Inc. magazine or other magazine online tools have these scores for best place to work. And so I think it's, in terms of amplifying your attractability, you can begin to actually build layers on top of this. So you can actually go and apply it to be a best places to work. I have clients who actually have full websites for their employees. It's an employee website. It's all about their unique way of building how their employees act. It's a place to apply for jobs. All of that matters, right? And it amplifies your attractability. Public relations, then you start, what's really interesting, once you start amplifying your attractability, you start to merge your employer brand with your marketing brand. And that's the place where you start seeing really innovative stuff happen. And so that's the 6 steps that I'd encourage you to think about as you think about growing your employer brand. And I have seen companies do this really effectively. And I think as you think about your employer brand, especially in a tighter labor market, this can be a place that actually gives you leverage. You want to attract the best people, but if you're not attractive, that's not going to happen. So I hope this little explanation of employer brand has been helpful to you, and I hope that because of it, you start taking steps to actually improve your employer brand. I hope that helps. We'll talk to you soon.